think we're good to go.
All
Well,
righty. Yes.
hi, Syelo Group. So this is Hachimi. He's going to be basically presenting Brandzen today. So it's a little bit of a different spin. It isn't in the ATS realm, but I will kind of let him go into detail about what it does. It's a little bit more advanced, I would say, than just your typical ATS. But we're excited to host you today, and yeah, feel free to kick off whenever you're ready.
All right. Thank you very much, Sabrina. And thank you as well to the Syelo Group members for the opportunity to spare like 1 hour time of your time to come to this. So I really appreciate it. And hopefully it won't be a disappointment. So yeah, like I hope that today I'm not going to be starting with a regular framework about showcasing the product right beforehand, because I watched your videos in the past, and what I've realized, two things. The first thing is that you probably have seen 99% of all the AI ATS features out there, like with different variations from different founders and different products. So it doesn't make sense for me to base my my first argument on features and product. And the second is that now we have technology and AI being developed with the developing products and features like in a week, like pretty much any feature that you can think of or you can wish that you would have in some solution can be built in a week. So instead of us talking about the product, which I'm going to get to at the end, I want to get to basically talking about the engine and the differentiation of what is it that we're actually trying to achieve and what we're trying to build. Then we will align it with the product and how does it function. So is my screen visible to you all? I'm not sure.
Yes.
It's showing. Hello. So yes.
Oh, Jimmy, your audio is breaking up just a little bit. It kind of goes in and out, but just FYI, we can hear you now, but it's kind of breaking up.
All right, brilliant. So if that happens at any point, please interrupt me so I know where I'm stopping, and therefore I won't lose where I'm moving forward or progressing through the conversation. So I'm trying to be as simple as possible, move very quickly so we can have some time for the product and how does it function, and then we'll have a further conversation. But the grander vision and mission of what we're trying to build as a solution for the future is an ontology-based hiring, which is an ontological infrastructure to basically align people with work and outcomes as opposed to just semantic similarities between jobs and resumes. So to put it in simple definition, think of it as a machine learning plus AI that generates its own algorithm based on the context and information given to it. So it's basically one algorithm that is pretty much free form to basically change itself based on the input. What company, what industry, what job is it, what people are they relevant, all of those contexts are injected into it, and it creates its own ontological context to create like the algorithm and the rubrics that needs to be measured for any specific role or people. So the way how we start breaking the hiring ontology. So there are two parts of it. There's the hiring ontology, and then there is the candidate ontology. So for now, we're talking about the hiring ontology. It starts by declaring what are the desired outcomes. The ontology operates the best by defining exactly what should the job fulfill in a specific environment or specific context for a company, and then reverse engineer or architect the job breakables into what needs to intake. And pretty much the desired outcomes can be broken down into deliverable types, cadences, quality standards, review processes, which align with the company context, what industry, sector, business model, growth stage, revenue band, startup or SMB or enterprise, all of those variables, and the role context, and basically function, seniority, role, execution layers, and the performance metrics that are relevant. So pretty much by declaring a single definition of what is the outcome and what is the discipline of that outcome, pretty much, and injecting these variables here the four variables, the company context, the performance, and the role, pretty much clarifies what is the desired impact of the business needs and the capabilities that make it happen. So pretty much breaks it from the results to the capabilities. Moving along to the candidate ontology, which somehow operates in a different, like in a similar fashion, but with different variables and environments. So the candidate ontology doesn't focus on the outcome, but rather than what the candidate can deliver, which simulates the behavior of the outcome. And essentially, it starts with the impact. What is the evidence of impact? What sort of roles that the person is currently assuming or previously assumed, for example, in what industry, business model, growth stage, skills, capabilities, and they're broken down into their subcategories, which produces what are the cognitive patterns of a person: problem decomposition, abstraction ability, pattern recognition, and first principle reasoning. And what are the breakdowns of capabilities to skills, and how do they align to outcomes? So, and the results of the candidate ontology works by displaying what are the centers of impact. Basically, it's the replacement of the job title. It's like, I don't need a data scientist. I need a data scientist who can achieve X, Y, Z. That's the narrative change of the ontology. And the candidate ontology shows the impact a person can create, backed by the capability and real evidence. Now, all of this is theoretical, so hopefully I'm going to be shedding some light of how the ontology behaves when it comes to defining a role. In standard context, in most of ATSs, even though AI is being wrapped on top of them, they're still working with the same signals or the surface level signals, which is semantic similarities and taxonomical structures. For example, here's what a data scientist, what are the parent skills, what are the child skills, what are the relationships, like in a ladder, right? In a hierarchical list rather than a map of relationships. A skill ontology of a data scientist behaves differently, where first it defines what are the critical skills, what are the supporting skills, and what are the relationships in between, and how do they align with the impact. So by merit of it being an ontology, it's not stuck on one single framework on how to evaluate a specific role or a specific skill. It morphs itself by the information that is being given to it based on what we have defined either on the company context or the candidate context. And then it produces a dynamic living ontology for either the job or the role that you're trying to fill, or the candidate as well. So these are the contrast of the contrast of differences on how information is being revealed and how it's being calculated and processed. So how does it communicate? We are talking about, like, it starts from the centers of impact, understanding what the candidate can achieve effectively by calculated evidence. And by breaking those down, it understands their capability. What are the capabilities of this particular person? It can be one or many. A person can achieve A under B, evidenced by C, demonstrated by X, and verified by Y, Z. So all of these are answered in like a multi-sequence steps of an ontology to give you that right context of a specific skill or capability of one person. So then the capability is broken down by skills, by skills and groups and skill families, and along the way with proficiency rubrics. So essentially, it doesn't just take a skill as a flat label. It tries to understand where's the impact of that specific skill, either on a person level or on a job level. So the case is that if the data scientist happens to have an R as a tooling layer with the skill, where is it in terms of proficiency? how deep is it, or how wide, or what is the breadth of their expertise and skills when it comes to a specific domain. So it ties those relationships between the tooling layer, the skills, and it consolidates them into capabilities and produces the bottom line centers of impact of the person. So what we are trying to do is we break the semantics proxies. So for example, a flat label saying that we need a sales manager. A sales manager can do multiple things if not aligned with what are the centers of impact of that sales manager, or the data scientist, or the growth marketeer, or all of those roles. So this is what we're trying to do: break the semantics and establish the context and exchange of information between all the variables of the ontology to produce a capability profile. So what you get is essentially you eliminate false positives and false negatives. So one of the key problems that I've heard from many recruiters is about keyword injection and semantic similarities. People are having access to AI. They can easily augment to polish their resumes. Now, every resume looks perfect or sounds perfect, and the signal can be overly saturated and it can collapse. And this is our hypothesis, and we're still studying it, and hopefully we can actually prove it with you over time. And the case of it, the ontology's purpose is to break those gamification layers between trying to match the semantic similarities between the two, job and resume, and actually focus on actual ontological similarities. So instead of you trying to map one-to-one similarities between the job and the resume and see how close is the fit when it comes to technical analyses before an actual human intervenes and looks at the resume, we try to give as much intelligence by creating two ontologies that overlap with each other and see how similar they are. And essentially, it reveals what are the gaps and what are the connective similarities between the both when it comes to experience, depth, execution layers, problem solution thinking, alignment, and relevance. And the biggest keyword here is alignment. So why are we, this is the reason why we think the ontology is the future, because work is unique. And as much as work is unique, human capability is unique as well. You can have two people with the same skills, and you know it better than I do. You've been into the trenches far deeper than I am. Same people with the same skills don't translate to the same strengths and competencies. They are shaped by different realities and expressions. And having systems that only measure the flat signals of information is pretty much diluting the truth of what is available and what is true. Therefore, we saw there is a need for us to dive deeper into the intelligence so we can actually give room for the human element to be more involved into the loop. So how do you, this is a hypothetical question, and I've asked this to a couple of pilots that we've had, and how do you position a person if you're hiring for a growth marketeer for a specific role, and you have an applicant who is applying as a growth engineer, who's an excellent growth engineer, but also an excellent sound engineer? And that question seemed odd for a lot of those people we've interviewed. It's like, how is a sound engineer relevant, even if it's it's the same person who holds that competency? It's not relevant because I need the growth marketer. Therefore, a growth engineer is more relevant. So because of that, we think that because of every human capability is unique, we designed an ontology that shouldn't ignore those variables. It basically looks at what are the spinal cognitive, shared cognitive spine between the both disciplines, and sees what are the truth that reinforces the claims or the skills of the person. So this one person is a growth engineer and also a sound engineer. And what are the similarities between them? So it tells you what are the shared spines into them. For example, here it's a system thinking, mathematical reasoning, experimentation mindset, and signal interpretation. So pretty much because you have context about a person as a unique ontology that with their sound engineering background, it reinforces the information that them as a growth marketeer, they are in a natural state. They are in a natural discipline because they exercise both cognitive spines in those roles into a natural, how do I say, into a natural discipline for them. So, and like, it's not the same as if someone was a growth engineer and a break dancer. This is totally different. So in this way, the ontology detects that a person exhibits an M-shaped operator capabilities. And it pretty much enforces that information on the ontology to tell that this person might not fit the title box, but they are highly capable in solving the problems that you need to solve. And hopefully I'm not going to be adding too much. So this is just an additional research on the capability archetypes that I will be sharing this document with you so you can explore and see how we are basically breaking down those archetypes into the platform, which we are going to give you access to as well. What you get out of this? You hire for outcomes, not for titles. And you expand your talent pool dramatically because it breaks the title box, and you see real capabilities, not semantics, through ontologies. And the list goes on. Like we need to refine them to be a little bit more accurate, but like the benefits of ontology is to give you as much intelligence as possible to simulate getting to a point of the first or the second interview. And then that leaves room for us to, or leaves room for recruiters and for us to actually be involved as humans in the loop and have that human connection to see what are the compatibilities as humans, because ultimately that's what recruiting is about. So this is a statement. We need the human factors to come back in hiring. So we created this ontology on the first principle that if we can increase the level and the accuracy of the intelligence on a person on the job level, we have room to drop this, like the steps that are exhausting and how do I say, where we need to increase throughput and efficiency and make them as an intelligence layer rather than an automation layer, right? And then once we have that intelligence, we have a lot more room to basically be creative about what we're trying to achieve with our hiring goals. And that is about explaining the ontology. Now we're going to go into the platform. Let me just change my screen. Okay, so as we are here, this is our current platform. It's still rough on the edges and needs a little bit of polishing, but it's working. It's working, and yeah, like almost all the functions and features are available. So let me demonstrate something here. So for instance, the first information that the platform gets is once the person signs up, it tries to understand who is the person. So for example, if you're Sabrina signed up, like you can say, okay, I'm Sabrina, I'm the senior recruiter who works in X company. And pretty much it tries to understand what is the company, what is the vertical, the discipline, the verticals and the discipline that you're trying to fill and all of those variables. And pretty much it tries to create like a whole search engine about what is the context of the company, like as we've mentioned in the slides before. And pretty much I would like to hire a salesperson who can grow the product from the ground up. So this is a very simple prompt. Of course, I'm deliberately trying to dumb it down to the agent like this because I want to show how does it orchestrate the entire ontology to create the job architectures. Okay, it's taking a bit of time more than usual. So it immediately understood that it needs a founding account executive. The reason for it is because this company is about Brandzen, and it understands that this is an early stage startup and you need founding team members. And pretty much the location is remote because we don't have an office yet, our home office, and it needs a full time. And pretty much it it grabs like the whole ontological order about what is oh, pardon me. Yeah. So let's see here. So by understanding the company, it understands what Brandzen is all about and what stage we are in, what business vertical we're after, who's our ICP and who's our target market, what is our market potential, and all of those variables as an ontological injection. And it pretty much understood exactly what are the centers of impact of a person that the person needs to fulfill. A GTM learning loop and ICP definition, and it provides the rationale about what is the goal, what are the strategic fit, and what pain points does it solve, and pretty much sales infrastructure and a repeatable process definition. So essentially, these gives the skill or the centers of impact and the strategic fit and the rationale of the pain point solutions. As these are the core centers of impact, it breaks down about what are the proficiency rubrics that need to exist into the perfect hire. And I say this carefully, it's a perfect hire because there's no such a thing. But this would be the perfect hire for the role in a sense that you have the pioneering skills, what skills that need to be the most advanced and the most in depth, and how they are related to other expertise in terms of strategies or expert skills, proficient skills, and like strategic skills, and how they are interconnected and how they are like compounding and combining with each other to achieve the goals or the centers of impact. Essentially, this is basically the ontological architecture. And because we have the foundations of the ontological architecture, we can actually look at the job in here, and then we can easily create modifications. So here, it's a sales, senior, automatically understood it. And essentially, because it has the architecture and it has the definition of the ontology of what the company needs and what the person needs to have, it's very much like in alignment of what is the job description that needs to be created. What is the introduction? What are the key responsibilities, the requirements? And basically, if there are any benefits and perks, which you can actually inject in your company profile, it adds them automatically in closing statements. So this is basically the artifacts of what builds the job. And essentially, it's very common to you. I'm not going to be diving too deep into it, but essentially you can take a look at it here in a preview or in a published state into the job board. And pretty much we have like the assistant is pretty much involved into every corner of the entire platform, and it behaves ontologically rather than just an AI. It might seem like it's working with artificial intelligence regularly, of course, because we need natural language processing to translate the ontology into something that is comprehensible for people to communicate with. But there are two layers of engine. So there's the AI, which translates and communicates, and there is the ontology that is the core engine, which connects the entire platform. And in here, pretty much in sourcing, pretty much you have the ability to connect the job that you published and like accurately deploy a search engine that finds people that have some surface similarities with these with the ontological similarities. So pretty much it understood in a previous query that I've conducted, I was looking for a growth operations lead and it provides you the details about the person. You can see the rationale about where and what they are, and what is the rationale of their match of their search. And essentially, it shows what are the skills and how do they tie directly with a job. And we can generate emails and phone numbers from within. And that happens pretty much automatically just by connecting a query to the job. It pretty much understands what the job needs. It understands what it needs to fulfill. What skills do they have to exist? What are the must-haves? What are the nice-to-haves? And what are the complementary skills and the adjacent ones? So, and by creating this, it pretty much makes it a lot easier. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to condense it. So everything we spoke about the ontology is connected to the assistant, to the search and sourcing, to projects, jobs, candidates, and talent pools, which are basically segments and repeatable lists that you can use for matching talent, and the company profile to build career pages and branding. So yes, apologies for taking too much time. So if you have any questions, by all means, I would love to have them.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Shannon.
All right, gosh, I don't know why sorry, that's weird. My camera was pointing down. I just had a question. Like, I understand, so it knows it's you as the recruiter, and it knows what company you're hiring for. So it starts to build on all the intelligence out there about your company being in a startup mode, and kind of then starts to build that skill set. Is that how it happens?
Yes, it is part of the list, part of the steps or sequences of artifact injection. Yes.
Artifact injection. Okay, so if I set this up at a new company, I would start to build that artifact up front before starting to build the jobs and or go after candidates.
Yes, that happens automatically. So
Okay.
essentially, yeah, you can either create like a new account for a company, or create an isolated project that you can say, I am a recruiter hiring for company X that is different from company different Y. By mentioning their website, it pretty much creates a search engine to cascade the entire artifacts injection. So it looks at their website, at their Crunchbase, at their financials, any news that is out there about the company. It understands their vertical, what they're trying to do, what is their business model, all of those information that were mentioned about creating the hiring ontology.
I think about like go-to-market teams for AI is so different than traditional go-to-market teams. So again, it's going to take that intelligence into play and look for the right candidates that can work in a startup mode, or go out and find solution engineers and forward deployed engineers and help like with that case too.
Correct.
Okay. Very cool. Thank you. Just had a quick question. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So, question. So I'm just curious. So is this a CRM where you're bringing in candidates, or I'm not sure I understand the connection between, like, I'm an agency recruiter, right? So I have various searches, at any given time, that kind of thing. And so different clients, different companies, all that stuff. So how does this work in terms of what I already have as a CRM and that kind of thing? Like, how does this fit into my rhythm, so to speak?
So just to clarify, your question is that you already have an existing CRM and you don't want to drop it, and how does it fit into that mix? Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my first question is this a replacement for a current CRM if you already have one? Like I'm pretty archaic. I don't use Loxo or one of the cool ones right these days. I use PC Recruiter, which is the basic one that imports candidates from LinkedIn, and then I make a list, and then I have outbound emails, et cetera, right? That kind of thing. So I'm a little behind in terms of some technology, but I use other systems like pin.com to do my sourcing and that kind of thing. So I'm just curious, like, where does this fit in the ecosystem of like recruiters, specifically for me, agency recruiters?
Right. So this was also designed in agency in mind. It can be used as a standalone, its own thing, as a CRM and an ATS. So you have the ability to manage jobs and projects internally, or you can connect it to your excuse me, you can connect it to your existing systems or CRMs, like whatever that is it that you use. For example, you even want to use it on HubSpot or Greenhouse, or even though HubSpot is not really an ATS platform, but it is possible. So you can connect whatever features via an API. So for example, if you want ontological profiles to be processed at your own platforms, we can actually make that happen. If otherwise people are looking to transition for something different, something that is more seamless and in one place, then this can do the work as well.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
as far as that list that you showed us in terms of all those candidates, like where did that come from? Like I didn't.
Yeah. So there are two ways you can actually process candidates. One, you either have, you can publish a job, and there is a job board that can actually be published on the sites, on your site or any platform that you can forward your jobs to. Let me just share that entire thing because it doesn't seem like it's transitioning. So yeah, you can publish a job into a dedicated job board, and you can have a collection of your jobs and collect applicants. And the alternative would be is that you can actually build out your own talent pipeline, and you can either connect them from a previous CRM or upload their resumes directly into the job. And what this is, so for instance, let's go to jobs here. And here, so there are two accepted, for example, you can actually receive applicants and pretty much from applications, and you get these intelligence and their breakdowns of their ontologies, and you can send assessments and all of those. And the other way is you can actually upload a list of candidates. Where's one that I actually had? Pardon me. Yes, so you can upload the list from here. For example, you have a collection of PDFs and said like, okay, I have a pool of people that I want to see how do they fit into this new job or new role. And you can pretty much do that and process them ontologically. The only difference is that it doesn't give you the same amount of accessibility when it comes to sending assessments, but it processes their resumes and provides their ontological score and what is their capability profile, what are the extracted skills from there, like what are their operator archetype, experience summarization, all of that. So
it's not sourcing candidates then? Is that what you're saying? It is.
Oh, you're talking about that. Actually, we do have sourcing. Yes. So the sourcing, pretty much here, you can, for example, create a new sourcing project. And what it does, you can connect one of the jobs that you're trying to fill after you design the architecture ontologically and complete the whole job description. That, okay, I want to source for a growth operations lead. I want to get 50, 100 people for this, and you can inject additional criteria. And pretty much it produces a list based on the ontological needs of the job. And it gives you like an organized list of who comes close to these ontological profiles based on the detected skills. Yes.
Is it pulling from LinkedIn specifically only, or?
For the time being, yes, it's only LinkedIn.
Okay.
Because we're still in beta, but we're looking, as we receive feedback, we can see which avenues we can expand upon. But it's still not enough, unfortunately. To be clear, this is not enough because this cannot process a candidate or an entry list ontologically, because you have flat skill labels from public sources, which we cannot manipulate, but it gets you closer to defining that this person is basically coming close to that profile. Ask them to apply. So a resume is necessary for the ontology to work.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sorry, I'm gonna have to check the questions. Yes. So to summarize it, you can how they're being pulled. You can source for them and contact them to apply. They can come as an inbound applicant with either published jobs from published job boards to submit their resumes, and you can upload a file of resumes.
Okay.
Sorry, I have two follow-up questions from that. One, the sourcing piece that you showed where you put in that query, that then pulled like that list of candidates that it supplied. I want to make sure I understand, came from LinkedIn, not from the existing CRM where you've maybe connected this to your ATS or your own uploaded resumes within the product itself. It's sourcing directly from LinkedIn then.
This directly from LinkedIn. Yes, it is actually a search engine that looks up for possible sources from LinkedIn, GitHub, and some other sources, which I forgot to actually log down. My co-founder just updated me with this yesterday. Sorry about that. But in order for us to get the enrichment information of skills, we need the LinkedIn profiles. So the case of it is that we have to reference LinkedIn profiles to find the emails and the phone numbers and what are the skills that they declare upon themselves. But so it searches everyone, but then matches you to the people who can what it can verify on LinkedIn. Does that make sense?
It searches everyone existing within here.
No. On public places. So
Okay.
GitHub,
Okay.
LinkedIn, for Y Combinator, for instance, and what was the other one? As I mentioned, one other that I failed to recall. So I apologize. I came unprepared.
Yeah,
But,
no worries. And then you had also mentioned sending assessments.
Yes.
Are those assessments created by your tool? Are you talking more about like homegrown assessments that we have, like maybe our team has built specifically for that role?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for now, it is being built by the tool, and it's designed to create the assessments on the ontological differences. So basically, it takes the variables of what are the job architectures of the job ontology, what is the candidate ontology, and then it creates an overlap to make the questions. So to give you a sample of the question. Sorry, for something that.
And then the reason you said it's more difficult to send assessments to people whose resumes you've uploaded is because of what you said about needing the LinkedIn profile as well.
No. So if you uploaded the candidates from your own source, like you have a file of multiple resumes that you want to upload to match against the job, the issue with that is that in order for someone to receive an assessment, they have to have a talent account, or like a Talentzen account, and the talent account is made for multiple reasons. One, which is to safeguard from resume manipulation. So pretty much they cannot update the resume for every job they apply for. Like we advise them to make one massive resume to build their capability profile, and then they build their ontology in platform to apply with.
Got it.
You see what I mean? So if you upload a resume, you can see what they're capable of, but they don't have an account to receive an assessment.
Got it. No, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So the assessments, what it measures, it creates most of the variables about what the job needs and what the person declared, and sees what are the matches and tests that person on them ontologically. And they are complicated questions, like there are tactical and strategic questions to actually stress test that specific claim or the skill. And pretty much it creates an array of multiple questions to say, okay, does this person can actually fulfill this particular role in this specific context? And pretty much after the assessment is finished, it gives you the overview. So what is the overview? For example, a person is scored excellently in CRM and field excellence, but they haven't done so well in pipeline and revenue engine, full GTM executions, and pretty much where they are the gaps in here. And it tells you what is the self-declared and what is the assessment performance. and it consolidates them all inside here. It tells you what is the resume tell you, what is their ontological resume tells you. It's 88% match. What is their archetype match for the job? So what is the cognitive load? Are they a manager or are they an operator? Do they need to cross-function between 2 teams or 3 teams? Something along the lines. It has those capabilities to detect it, and then the assessment. And it gives you the overall average. So the average changes if the assessment hasn't been done. So the assessment isn't sent automatically because it's how do I say, you as a recruiter choose who to assess, right? So you don't want to blast everyone with an assessment. Say, like, I only want to test the best people, the best 5 people to really narrow down on who should I talk to first, right? So that's what it's used for.
Got it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So my question would be, what is your plan to actually? There's a lot of tools that are not similar to this, but you know, AI recruiting tools. What's your plan to actually stop someone that's a decision maker from stopping the scrolling and saying like, okay, this is something that I actually need and find valuable.
Like, are you asking this from a market perspective or?
Yeah, just a market perspective.
Yeah. So our plan is to essentially tap into what is the actual pain point that recruiters are facing today. And like, as hiring people, we are also suffering. I'm not a recruiter, but I'm trying to hire people, and what we're facing is probably the same. Is that the signal is collapsing. It's like the traditional signals of what people are working with these days, and especially en masse, is collapsing by means it's heavily augmented and AI injected right now. So now resumes are made by AI, recruiting tools are screening with AI, and then automation is happening with AI, and everything with AI. Where's the human in the loop that comes in? So what we are trying to create a narrative is that we don't try to create the efficiency of automation, but rather the efficiency of intelligence. That's our difference. We want to create that depth of knowledge and the knowledge graph about people and jobs. And it's a self-learning process. It doesn't stop at hire. It actually keeps learning from the success and failures and narrows down on what works and what doesn't. So it's a self-improvement loop. That's the first layer of it. And the second is that we want to advocate about the human in the loop. We want to stress about it, so that we're not in the automation business, we are in the intelligence business. So if you want accuracy, if you want an ontology that doesn't just help you find the people, but it also help you be operationally better, because it also aligns with the role or the company that you're trying to help filling that role for, then that's our position. Like, we're not into like if you look at what we're talking about, we don't even mention that we're AI powered. We don't. Like almost every tool is pretty much AI powered now. This is like, it's needless to say. So we want to focus on the differentiation, which is ontological based hiring. So the ontology is not one thing. It's a multiple things that can grow as the use increases, as demand increases, and it only gets better. And what ultimately we do is remove the noise that currently exists by having like a straight up intelligence pool.
Right. So is there like a case, and I'm just asking this from like, these are questions I would ask if, you know, are there any case studies, or do you have any, is you know, with the platform, is there a think tank of people that have done these type of things before and have measurable results that, you know, you can bring to the table, that somebody can say, oh yeah, that makes sense. I can you know, connect the dots here.
I understand. Well, for now, in full transparency, we haven't finished our substantiation yet. So we are piloting. We have 19 pilot users right now, which we are walking them through the process of like using this for free in order for us to achieve what we're trying to achieve from the point of intelligence. And we were able to agree and realize that because of an ontology right now, we're not only available to measure the current the current metrics of hiring, which is like what are the time to hire and what is the success rate, what is the rejection rate, and all of those. We have the ability to expand into understanding what is the time to impact. Because an ontology doesn't match people semantics, it matches them on a deliverable level to a company. What we're trying to see is that how, out of the matches, out of the hires that has been made through the platform, how soon can they deliver value in their position? That's what we're trying to track now. That's why it's taken a bit of a longer time. But as soon as we have that substantiated and documented to say, okay, we can confidently say that this is not a fluke. This is a result of an ontology that we can help achieve X, Y, Z. For now, we don't have it.
No, I really appreciate you answering that question. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I want to make sure we have some time for you to ask the group questions as well, Achmi. So we have about 10 minutes left.
Okay, thank you for that. So I suppose the questions for me are not as how do I say, are not as deep, but rather collectively, as you are here on the panel, I would love to understand, is like, what is your opinion about this? Are we pursuing something that sounds fancy, or is it actually a problem that needs solving? Are we good at diagnosing the problem, and do you think we're building the right solution for it?
I can kick off.
Yeah.
I think this group in particular has seen quite a few tools that tries to, I think, incorporate almost a little bit too much into one system. I think from my perspective, like one big problem that we run into, and I source primarily engineers. So I think getting in front of the right engineers is always pretty hard for us. And from almost like a reach out perspective, we have like very, very low response rates. And it's like that for a couple of different roles. I think that has been a major issue. But I do think identifying kind of a key profile and being able to throw some talent branding in there would be more helpful than us just trying to kind of like beta test our own messaging, like using AI. We're already kind of all using AI, I'm sure, to like, do some talent branding, but something that's a little bit more catered to the way you would sell to an engineer, I think would be helpful, right? Like almost get into like an engineer brain when you're trying to reach out to an engineer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So could you please elaborate on the last bit? I am a little flustered. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, like to get into the brain of an engineer from a branding perspective. That is.
Yeah. So like for me, this tool, when I think about your tool and what you just showed us, it is it's a bit of sourcing. There's plenty of sourcing tools out there. I think it's less sourcing it's not like direct sourcing that's like the huge issue, right? Like you can go and use any sourcing tool. You can use ChatGPT for sourcing. I think personally, what we run into is that engineers, like we have beta tested a lot of different messaging. None of them really work. And I think it's because I don't have an engineering brain, right? Like I don't know what engineers want to see, like what would excite an engineer about a role. We're just kind of making our best educated guesses. So having being able to use AI in this form, right, and how you have it kind of broken down, I think that would be really helpful if you could use this tool. And I think you can use it that way. I do think like the more complicated the more you try to add into the platform, it might just get complicated and even in selling this product, right? Like I think you have to have a very clear, like this is what is going to solve your issue. This is the ROI from using this tool, and it has to be like one kind of solving like one major issue. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Now I understood it very clearly. So the case of it is actually an ontology is a very good vehicle for communication. right? Because now it's not just about having a role, like a flat role, like description, and to say, okay, let's try and figure out what really ticks with the engineer. Is it a salary, or is it a description, or responsibility, or the company, or any of those variables? So the case of it is that we can use the ontology on, like, with all the variables that it includes, and it creates like the messaging to to specific personas or profiles of candidates that you want to reach out to. And pretty much we can pinpoint about whether it is about the ontological similarities, and do they want certain responsibilities that make them grow in a specific field or in a specific depth of expertise, or do they get attracted to a function or discipline or a salary or any of those variabilities. So although the ontology is meant to find the right people to the job, it can be leveraged for other communications. So outreach is part of it. Like, you can easily say, because we have this job that requires XYZ, we saw a huge similarity with what you excel in, and this could be a great opportunity, rather than just like, oh, you're a great software engineer, so you're a software engineer could fit here. So you get into the details why you're a good fit. So this could be a good opportunity for us to actually think of, and yeah, I'm thankful for the input.
For me, being super candid and no disrespect or anything, I find it hard to understand what your product clearly does. It does so many different things, and I found it very hard to follow, like, why or how I would actually fit it into what I do. I'm unique compared to everyone else. I don't source engineers primarily. I'm in a very specialty niche of focusing on tax professionals. So I recruit tax professionals for Fortune 500 companies, and that's where I live. That's only where I live. So for me, it's my rhythm is, I use LinkedIn, I use pin.com, I use ChatGPT. Like, I use a lot of different, and it seems like your product could do a lot of what I'm already doing with all the products. But it's very hard for me to understand, like, what it is. And the ontological part makes sense to me, like that. Like, I always lead with, or I always ask, like, what is, when I talk to a client, I always ask, like, what is this candidate going to accomplish? How are they going to receive a 100% review or 99% review in year one? Fast forward to that point, like, what do they have done, right? And that's how I go about recruiting myself, right? In terms of, it's like, understand, it's not just responsibilities, qualifications. Those are always a given. Like, they got to have a JD or a CPA or whatever, and that's always going to be in there no matter what. But it's going to be, and the issue that I see, or the challenge that I see, Hajime, is like, if the sourcing part is coming from LinkedIn, that's not always gleaned from LinkedIn as well, right? Those accomplishments aren't going to be, like, that's not going to be gathered or sourced in the sourcing part. Like, that's why we recruiters exist, because we have to have a conversation to pull out information that's not on the paper.
Correct. I agree with you. Yeah.
And so the resume is just one part of it, but what's inserted in the oration of the story by the candidate is what separates, like, good candidates from great candidates from, like, overplayed candidates or underqualified candidates who are overselling themselves. Unless I'm missing something, those are my thoughts right now.
I appreciate it, David. Thank you for the input. Yes, you are absolutely correct about the thought about recruiters are always needed, because most of the current tools right now is basically there is no way for them to establish the missing context between what is written on the resume and how do they fare against the job description. That's what we're trying to achieve with an ontology, right? Is to answer as much as, like, as much of questions that you typically ask for the first and the second interview about that person. It's like, walk me about your resume. So walk me through your resume. What have you done? But those questions can be answered ontologically, right? Because there are certain evidences and certain details that might be written in a job, like in a resume, but like if you semantically match them, they're just like, okay, it's just a match. But if you reason about them, it tells you because a person does X, Y, Z, therefore they're actually probably good in something that they didn't declare, right? That's one of the use cases of an ontology. I can answer those on a ladder of multiple skills. So, objectively speaking, is to get as much information as possible, and without synthesizing any false information about the candidate or the job, is to answer what are the hidden qualifications, what are the hidden capabilities based on the factors that are mentioned and the all-encompassing context of the candidate, and how do they match against that job. That's the whole game of the ontology.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome, Hachimi. Well, I know we are at time. Really appreciate you sharing with our group today. So we will share this with the broader group, and then we'll also share a feedback form along with that. And so any feedback we get from that form, we'll relay to you. But in the meantime, we'll stay in touch. Really appreciate you joining today. Thank you, everyone, for joining Syelo Think.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate your times, everyone, sincerely. And yeah, if by a chance we can actually, answer more questions either by email or anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. And we'd be more than happy to also provide resources to help things more understandable, about the platform or everything else that needs to be done.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful
Thank you.
afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.